Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing well. It's been a while since I have made a video on this channel, but I thought it might be interesting to discuss this current season of American Horror Story Apocalypse so far. As of episode 2, which aired this past week, I am very excited about the premise of this season and the things to come. I knew nothing about this season going into it other than the subtitle. I had not seen the trailer or read any details about the plot other than that it would contain crossover elements from Murder House Season 1 and Coven Season 3. Now, while I didn't expect these crossover elements to emerge right away in the first episode, I found the first episode very disappointing for other reasons. It was not at all going in the direction I had anticipated for a post-apocalyptic storyline, where I assumed it would take place in the outside world, showing people fight desperately for survival. But instead it zeroed in on this group of survivors who ended up in this sort of underground commune together. They are under very strict leadership, and it's unclear as to why they have certain rules that they must follow, or how these particular women got to be in charge. I found it quite frustrating to accept, because if I was in the situation of these survivors, I would be desperately seeking answers for these circumstances. And I couldn't imagine staying put like that, with things unchanged for over 18 months. But the plot rapidly developed in episode 2, giving us both more backstory of this current situation and also a clearer direction of where the season is headed. We get properly introduced to Michael Langdon, who was the baby born in Season 1, prophesied at that time to be a force of pure evil. And now we've come full circle to see that prophecy fulfilled, as he has grown up into this Antichrist figure, playing a key role in the final days. While I expected a secular depiction of the apocalypse, I love that it is actually from a Christian perspective to some extent. This is the Lucifer that I was taught about as a child, where, while you might expect Satan to be ugly or scary, he is actually attractive and intriguing and deceptive. And it's genuinely chilling to re-experience as an adult something that connects to the fears and the excitement of one's childhood psyche. And I'm wondering if any of you feel the same, or if your upbringing affects how you see the premise of this season. So Langdon is here to interview these people for what he says is their only chance at survival. But he doesn't tell them the criteria he is looking for in this interview. So what we see when Mr. Gallant, Evan Peters' character, when he doesn't know what he can say to impress Langdon, he has no choice but to be honest. And it seems to me that this test was not really an interview, as it seems that Langdon already knows everything about him. But rather, it was his objective as this Antichrist character to bring out this carnal side of him, to elicit the darkness born out of his internal chaos. And I love these scenes with Evan Peters that are intimate, not just sexually, but psychologically, as there is some connection between the anger he feels at his grandmother and a love of pain as a sort of cathartic freedom. I think it's very daring for a network TV show to explore that complicated connection between sexuality and pain, which many people resonate with. And there is, if not a fear, certainly an intrigue from trying to understand. I recognize that there are some people out there who could be very offended by a show like this that is so explicit and portrays Satanism and sadomasochism very blatantly. But I think it's done with a really important purpose. Shows like this can be an art form that give us the opportunity, instead of running from our fears and our darkness, to get to explore them a little more closely than we might otherwise be comfortable with. There were also numerous biblical parallels, which I absolutely love. The snakes were a very clear metaphor for deception and for evil creeping into the place. There is also a parallel to the Garden of Eden story in how this young couple rebels against the rules that have been put in place where they are. When they discover the laptop and read the emails, that was like them eating the fruit and gaining a greater knowledge that then led them to rebel. I also saw a connection in how Wilhelmina is rebelling against Langdon's authority in the same way that Satan first rebelled against God as his ruler in the Bible. I think the cinematography in this episode was also very striking, and there was great music to complement some of the scenes, especially towards the end of the episode. And there was a very dreamlike quality as supernatural things happen, from the snakes coming back to life to music on the stereo changing mid-song, and when the leather man ends up being the grandma, which I believe was probably a figment of Gallant's imagination. But this episode really toys with insanity and does a great job of putting you into the experience of these characters. The acting is exceptional, as always, especially from Evan Peters and Sarah Paulson, and also Kathy Bates, who has an especially terrifying presence, just naturally. But I think all of them are really wonderful horror actors, just in all their little nuances. I can tell that there is still so much left to unfold, and so little that I understand about where this season might be going. And that is often the case with American Horror Story, is that your opinion on a season can change from one episode to the next, as there are often many twists and unexpected directions that the show will take that you weren't originally expecting. And sometimes it can be very clever. Other times it feels a bit hard to follow. But I think it's always exciting and enjoyable to watch how each season unfolds. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you think of this season so far. Any personal reflections you may have, or any details that were easy to miss, and also your hopes for the remainder of the season. I hope you have a lovely night or rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.